Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is the only kitchen channel where nothing gets cooked, but I'm doing it again live from my kitchen, bringing you another list. This one's gonna be a little different. This one's a bet you didn't know list. I'm a big movie buff. I love things cinema, all things cinema. I'm fascinated with the whole movie making process, with just how everything comes together, sometimes for the best and sometimes not for the best. But I've compiled a list of interesting things that you may not know about your favorite movies. Some of these you may know, some of you may not. I really tried to go into my deep database, which is my brain, of different facts that I think are interesting in the aspect of making movies, and I think you may too. So here's my list of trivia and facts about your favorite movies that I bet you didn't know about. First up is Alien. Yes, the first one, Alien by Ridley Scott. This one is a revolutionary horror movie. In space, nobody can hear you scream. Sigourney Weaver, of course. Everybody knows about the xenomorph, the alien, but just as famous is the debut of said xenomorph. Everybody knows the kitchen scene after one of the crew members gets the face hugger on his face and it falls off and he seems fine. Everything seems to be going just as planned. And in the middle of the dinner scene, he starts to convulse, something's wrong. And of course, we see the famous scene of the alien bursting out of his chest. But what a lot of you may not know was a lot of this wasn't told to the cast before it happened. They weren't shown what the alien prop was going to look like. They weren't shown the level of blood and guts and stuff that was going to happen. And the reactions were real. They wanted to make sure that the reactions to the chest burster coming out of the chest, all the character reactions, including Sigourney Weaver, was legit. They had no idea it was going to be that bloody, that gross, that alarming. So what you're seeing is legitimate. Going back to another trivia fact that you may not know, this is going back to legitimate reactions, is this one, even though I love this bit of trivia, got a little bit more famous because of the Movies That Made Us series that's on Netflix right now. Highly recommend that, as well as Toys That Made Us. If you have time, go watch it. Everybody knows Die Hard, one of my favorite Christmas movies, and what made Bruce Willis a household commodity, in my opinion. And what a lot of people don't know was the famous ending when Bruce Willis faces off against Hans Gruber, and he's on top of Nakatomi Plaza. Right as Hans Gruber begins to, and there's a last interaction between Hans Gruber and John McClane. And right as Hans Gruber lets go and is falling off the building to his death, what a lot of you don't know was during the final battle between Alan Rickman's Hans Gruber and John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, when he falls off Nakatomi Plaza, that reaction was 100% real. And that was a real fall from really, really high. I'm not exactly sure how many stories, but it was definitely too high for comfort. And Alan Rickman, not being a stuntman, this was terrifying for him. Alan Rickman was of course prepared, and they made sure he wasn't going to get hurt, but he was definitely afraid of heights. And when they got him up there, they said, okay, we're going to count down, and when we get to 1, we're going to drop you. What they didn't tell him was they were going to release him before 1. So when he does fall, he's expecting to fall at 1, but they pull the cord right before 1. So what you're seeing is Alan Rickman's legitimate horrified face as he falls to his character's death. Next up, we got Rocky IV. Rocky IV, when he fights Ivan Drago after Ivan Drago defeats his confidant Apollo Creed. What you guys don't know is Stallone, and this isn't the first time he's done something like this, Stallone likes to be a legitimate tough guy. He likes to make things in his movies seem legitimately real. Now, when he went up against Dolph Lundgren, and who played Ivan Drago, who is legitimately one of the most massive people on the planet, he wanted his stuff to look good. He wanted to, how we say in the wrestling business, lay his shit in. So he had Dolph pretty much punch him real, and it really hurt him. It actually put Stallone in the hospital. It nearly killed him. Dolph laid it in, punched him right in the face, knocked him out, put him in the hospital, and nearly ended his life. So it looks real because it is real. Next up, we got Back to the Future, one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Yes, even the third one. I love that one. Love me some cowboys and Indians with time travel. Now, Back to the Future, we all know Doc and Marty, but Marty was going to be a little different. You see, there was another actor that was originally going to play Marty McFly. Would have been a completely different character. A long time ago, originally they had asked Marty McFly, Michael J. Fox, to be in the movie, but scheduling conflicts didn't really work out that well. So he didn't really have time to make the movie. So originally they landed on Eric Stoltz, another actor. Eric Stoltz had actually shot a good amount of the movie as Marty McFly. And there's some cuts of very famous scenes from Back to the Future with Eric Stoltz and Christopher Lloyd, who plays Doc Brown. As time went on, Robert Zemeckis really didn't like what he was getting from Eric. He really didn't think that Eric Stoltz was capturing his Marty McFly, so he was fired. And halfway through, and during this whole production, Michael J. Fox was working on a whole other TV show. So when he eventually was called again saying, please, we need you to be in this movie, he agreed and had to pull one of the craziest schedules in actor history. So during the day, he would shoot his scenes for his TV show. And then later that night, he would sleep in the car on the way to the set, and then they would film Back to the Future at night. This was crazy and definitely wore on Michael J. Fox's psyche, I'd have to imagine. And I think it turned out for the better, don't you? Now, another case of a guy who's originally going to be something, but then wasn't. So everybody knows the Terminator. Terminator 1, a very, very, very pivotal film in the career of Arnold Schwarzenegger. It made him, in my opinion. I mean, yes, he had movies before that, but everybody associates the Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It wasn't always going to be that way, because originally it was going to be O.J. Simpson. Yes, accused killer O.J. Simpson, the Juice, was originally going to be the Terminator. Would have been very different. You know, O.J. was in a few movies. You know, he was in Naked Gun. He was in some other projects. And people really thought he was going to be the next breakthrough star. And then murder happened. So that didn't work out so well. But it was originally going to be O.J. Simpson as the lead in Terminator. Bet you didn't know that. Okay, one more was supposed to be this, but didn't end up happening, which is also, I'm kind of segueing from Arnold franchise to other Arnold franchise. And we're getting Predator. One of my favorite movies is Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jesse Ventura. I Ain't Got Time to Bleed. Now, there's a very famous trivia fact that we all know the Predator. We all know what he was and who he was and his aesthetic with the claw mouth, and he gets invisible and his green blood. Love everything about it. What you didn't know, he was played by Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yes, Mr. Splits, the guy who played Guile in Street Fighter. Yes, Jean-Claude Van Damme was originally the Predator, and I'll show you some production stills of him in the suit. The Predator was going to be a lot more acrobatic, was going to be a little more flippy flip, and Jean-Claude Van Damme was the guy for it. He ended up backing out of the film. He didn't really agree with the film's direction and wasn't really happy with the fact that he wasn't going to be shown himself in any of the film whatsoever. He actually signed on thinking it was going to be completely different. So when he came on and realized that he was going to be hidden essentially the entire movie, he backed out. Who knows if that was better or for worse, but he is who he is today, selling Tostitos chips. All right, now this one is not so much of a trivia thing, but is a little bit of an urban legend debunking thing. So years and years and years, I'm sure a lot of you, maybe not all of you, but a lot of you have known the urban legend that you can see a Munchkin hanging himself in one of the cuts of the original Wizard of Oz. And going back, even as a kid on the original Wizard of Oz VHS tape, I did see something during the scene where they're going down the yellow brick road look in the background, something swinging. I was alarmed at this at first. It freaked me out. Now, it freaked a lot of other people out, and eventually we had to figure out if this was a real thing or not. Turns out, it's not. The real story isn't as interesting. Turns out, no, it wasn't a Munchkin hanging himself. Nobody actually died during this movie. So what it actually had been was, for this movie, they really wanted to give it another worldly aspect. So they flew in a lot of exotic birds, such as flamingos and peacocks and whatnot. So what you're seeing is actually a giant bird, or whichever type it is. You can't really tell. And honestly, I think anybody who did know is dead at this point. But it is just some wildlife in the background. And you can see some of this wildlife in different scenes, such in front of the Tin Man's house. There's a peacock walking around. Check it out next time you watch it. All right, now this next trivia bit is a little interesting, but I love it just because it's now you can't unhear it once you know what it is. Everybody knows the famous Jurassic Park scene with the velociraptors in the kitchen chasing those two little kids, and they use the mirrors and the different cutlery to trick these raptors. What you guys didn't know about the raptors in a lot of these Jurassic Park movies is a lot of their noises, their famous noises, that they're terrifying guttural noises that they make, are actually just turtles having sex. Yes, but to get the noises for a lot of these raptors, all they really did was just record animals mating and turtles mating, and that's how they got these horrifying noises that the velociraptors make. Now, one last trivia bit. Now, this is just the last one of this countdown. I have a lot more in my brain that I'll be sure to give you guys in another post. This one is fun. This one is The Matrix. Now, there are a lot of trivia aspects in The Matrix. I can make a whole video about Matrix facts. But this one's fun because this is what The Matrix is known for. I mean, not so much slow motion and bullets whizzing by you and whatnot. The binary code. Yes, the famous green binary code that you see in all the Matrix films. What do they mean? What do they say? Is this some sort of hidden plot point? No. It's actually sushi recipes. Yes, to fill just binary code, just in the original Matrix, just to fill in some space, just to show some crazy digital stuff. It's just sushi recipes in binary code. That's all it is. Look it up if you don't believe me. All right, that's it. That's another list. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm really trying to expand my my video repertoire. Hope you enjoyed it. Check back again for another list.